And we are live. Hey everybody, welcome. Happy Tuesday. It's 8:30 just about, and you are tuned into another episode of JMMB Goal Getter Live, coming to you from everybody's house. Because we're still under curfew, right? So thanks again for joining us, guys. I'm Carrie Ann Stimson, and I'm the Group Chief Marketing Officer of JMMB. Hey, Judy. Judy is on. Please, guys, drop us a comment. We'd love to see you and know that you're listening. Tell us where you're listening from. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, and we're happy to be bringing you another episode of JMMB Goal Getter Live. Now, again, I say this every single time. This is going to be another awesome episode. Every episode is awesome, but this is going to be another awesome episode. Why? Because we're going to be talking about a very, very interesting topic. So I say this almost every single time we start one of these Goal Getter Live sessions, right? Is that COVID-19 has totally thrown a lot of us for a loop. Nobody really expected the impact that COVID-19 would have had on our economy and on businesses and on our personal finances, right? And so one of the things that we've been trying to do on JMMB Goal Getter Live is to support you in navigating through the crisis, not only on a personal level, but also for your business. And I'm seeing everybody logging in. Hey guys, Shanique, my regular people. What's up, Shanique from Facebook? And we see Roger and Odian. Hi, Ingrid. Welcome. Yes, guys, drop us a comment. If it's your first time, let us know. If you're a regular, if you're team every week, please drop us a comment as well. We're happy to see you. Hey, Judy from Kingston. We know we also get some international viewers, so let us know where you're watching us from. And again, guys, as we say every week, if you have a friend or family member that needs to get this information, call them, text them, WhatsApp, DM, tag them, whatever. Tell them they need to come over here right now because we have some awesome information to share. And so what are we going to be doing this week? This week, we're going to be speaking to business owners and business managers, right? And let me tell you again, COVID-19, guys, it's totally thrown a lot of us for a loop because while, again, we would have anticipated the health impact on Jamaica, I don't think anyone or most of us, I know I didn't expect the economic and financial fallout that has occurred. And while we see the government certainly has been taking steps to, as they say, reopen the economy. We know the work from home order is going to be lifted at the end of May, etc. The reality is that I don't think life as we knew it will exist not anytime soon. Debatable as to whether it ever will exist ever again, but certainly not anytime soon. And so that's why we're happy to bring to you the topic for tonight, which speaks to business owners and business managers. Hey, Owen. Hey, Stenet. Hey, Marvin. First time. Welcome, Marvin from Facebook. Happy to have you. Hey, Sasha. Love to see you guys. Marvin from St. Lucia. What's going on? I love it. I love when our regional peeps chime in. So, guys, yes, we're going to be talking tonight, business owners and managers. And the question we know you have, a lot of you have, is how do you pivot your business and thrive, right? And we're going to go into a definition of what pivoting really is and what it involves and all that good stuff. But we know it's a big question, again, because what we would have seen from COVID-19 is that a lot of sectors and the businesses that operate in those sectors have been impacted. You're talking about tourism being kind of shut down, more or less, entertainment, transportation, travel, my goodness. I mean, there are a lot of industries and sectors that would have been negatively impacted. And a lot of those businesses have had to face the reality of pivoting, meaning how can they change how they do business or what they do business in order to remain alive and remain viable. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And we have two awesome guests that are going to be here to share with us, in one instance, their experience or his experience, because he's a business owner and he's had to do some pivoting as well. And then we have another guest who is from the JMMB family directly. She's a team member at JMMB with me, and she is a specialist in our SME Unit, and you're going to hear more about them. Hey guys, so yes, thank you, Ovando from Japan. Love it. We're international tonight. Hey Natasha, yes, no spa services tonight. Natasha, the facial is done, the pedi is done. We love it. It's okay. We're still happy to have you. It's all good. It's all good. Natasha joins us almost every week and does self-care at the same time, which we encourage. So let me introduce our guests. Let's jump right into it. So I'm going to introduce our hometown guest first. And as I said before, she is the head of our Small Medium Enterprise Resource Center, aka our SME Resource Center. And she is Shani Duncan-Falconer. Hey, Shani. You're on mute. It's okay. It happens to me all the time. Unmute your microphone.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Shani, what's up?
I'm good. I'm great.
Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And Shani, as I said, is the group lead of our SME Resource Center. And, you know, she lives the best of both worlds because not only does she manage the Resource Center, but she uses her skills and her experience and her education in the field of entrepreneurship to guide businesses on the path to financial freedom. And Shani is no stranger to Goal Getter Live because she was actually one of the guests on our very first Goal Getter Live in March when she was sharing with us tips on how SMEs can manage their cash flow. So Shani, we're happy to have you join us back again here tonight for another business-related conversation on JMMB Goal Getter Live. Thanks, Shani. And our next guest, no, he is not a member of the JMMB team, but hey, he's part of Goal Getter Live, so we consider him a part of the family. And he's probably not a stranger to some of you, or he says he's more of a background kind of person, and it's all good. But guys, please join me in welcoming PJ Wright. Hey, PJ.
Hey, Carrie-Ann, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. How is everything treating you these days with COVID-19 and all?
It's something new to get used to. As I say, staying home, doing a lot more at home work, and then also doing a lot more of these kind of things, as in we're interaction over social media.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us. And folks, for those of you who are not familiar with who PJ is, now PJ is an innovative entertainment and marketing maverick. And even if you don't know his face, you would have to know that he has over 16 years in the entertainment and marketing fields. He's co-founded and built some of Jamaica's most iconic events like Dream Weekend, which I'm sure we all know, Exodus Carnival, just to name a few. And more recently, in the past 2 years, he's moved his creative talents into the restaurant world. And he's become integral in building his own restaurants with partners with Taste of Life. And they own and operate Chillin' Restaurant as well as Crew Bar and Kitchen. So just by listening to his profile alone, you can hear, oh yeah, he got hit by the COVID impact, the financial impact. It's like, whoa, entertainment, restauranting. It's like PJ has a lot of experience to share with us because he too has had to learn how to pivot in this time. And so we're going to be looking forward to hearing his tips and his experience. And again, guys, we're just being very, very cautious and clear that we're not promising the $1 million or the billionaire strategy, right? Because at the end of the day, we're still operating in the midst of an economic crisis or financial crisis that the COVID pandemic would have brought. But we do believe that there is an opportunity to see opportunities in the midst of the crisis, and that's what we'll be discussing here tonight. Okay, great. So let me start off with PJ. So PJ, as we started out in your introduction, we all know this, the entertainment industry is on hold. And wow, you know, it's one of those sectors that were hardest hit, along with tourism and transportation, etc. But entertainment industry is technically on hold for now. No word as to when it's really going to open back up. And the leaders in the entertainment industry have had to find ways to stay afloat. Could you share with us from your personal perspective and your own personal experience, how have you been impacted in light of COVID-19?
All right, not a problem. All right, Karen, and hello to everybody. Well, Dream Entertainment. Let me touch on that part of it. So, Dream Entertainment is a year-round, full-blown business that deals with events for corporate Jamaica, also for ourselves with Dream Weekend Cruise, and also Exodus Carnival. It has definitely impacted us. As in, everything is on hold. But what it is that has impacted us kind of a little bit different from other persons within the entertainment sector is that because we have a year-round business, we have year-round bills. So we have a staff team, we have office, we have our planning that we have been doing for these projects. So that's what is a little bit different. So that impact has kind of put us on a little bit of a hole, and then also because, as we know, the guidelines of what can happen and what can't happen kind of changes as we go along. So that's one of the things that kind of has impacted us very, very, very negatively, because we want to get back to work. We want to go and bring the products that people love, that we have, but it's kind of wanting to make sure that we do it in the most responsible way, that everybody is safe and that everybody can go home. And it's not that we're just doing it for business, but we're doing it for the love and also for just persons to have a great time.
Thank you so much for that, PJ. And so we've established that based on the industry, the primary industry that you've been in, entertainment, and then more recently in the restaurant business, you've been negatively impacted. So I think it's logical then. So you have pivoted, is what you're hinting at.
Yes, definitely have pivoted. As in
And
with the entertainment, not as much, because we're here waiting to see, because as in entertainment has a lot to do with experience. Yes, you can do the stuff online, but mostly it is about experience. It's about the sound, the sight, the touch. You kind of have to be within a space to get that.
okay, great. So you've established that you basically pivoted. So could you share with us how you've pivoted? What is this new business ventures that you're currently involved in? And yeah, tell us about that, because that I think that's a question on a lot of people's minds, how you've pivoted and what you've pivoted into.
So I give you the two parts of the pivot. So there's a pivot having to do with food and beverage, the restaurants chilling. We have had to now start focusing more on obviously delivery and takeout, but also changing about our offering, because with this pandemic, what we have seen is that now is the time that you have to actually trying to reach out to your consumers to understand exactly what they want. And what we realized is that people wanted family meals, as in nobody wanted to be doing work from home, managing kids, and then laboring over the stove. So we found that we were able to do family meals during the week, family meals on Sunday, and those things especially helped within the food industry. Otherwise, from that, through this, I was actually in the process of doing a distributorship for a product called Victory Sprayers. It's an electrostatic sprayer. And unfortunately, got through with the distributorship, but with the pandemic hitting the US ended up just canceling all new distributorships outside of the US. So they were offered us some units to say, hey, you can buy some units. And it was kind of out of that situation, and combined with some of my workers who kind of reach out to me to say, boy, yeah, we're here, as in we're willing to do stuff. Just let us know what can be done. That I said, boy, let me try getting into the service industry of sanitizing and disinfecting. So I did a lot of research on it. I realized that it's a market that was over in Asia booming. And when I say booming, that was what you saw on news on every channel. Persons were disinfecting and sanitizing all areas, transportation, public areas. So with looking at it, that if we take into consideration that what is happening in Asia is our future, and what is happening to us currently is their past, then we just take some hints and look at their future, look at them as our future, and put things in place so that we can lessen the impact on our current.
Okay, great. So Okay, so let me make sure I got that correctly. Hey, Romain, thank you so much for coming over. Romain says they're on she. I'm sorry, I don't want to assume gender on these lives with names, right? Over on IG. Thanks for joining us over here on YouTube. So just to be clear, then, PJ. So entertainment in your so primarily you're in entertainment and restauranting. I'm just use that word. So entertainment is really kind of sleeping at this point. So on the restaurant side, you've pivoted. Folks can't come in and get that dining experience, but you're still providing meals through other channels, mainly through pickup and your food truck, right? If I'm getting it correctly.
Oh, yes.
And then you started basically a whole brand new business. And when you say sanitization and the services, this is kind of like janitorial services, if we were to find an analogy for it.
Yes, correct. It's more janitorial services, and also as in we offer deep cleaning, and then also what right now more than anything else that we're doing is the sanitizing and disinfecting through electrostatic spraying. As in, it's a technology that has been within the agricultural industry for years, but has been moved for this pandemic into the healthcare sector, offering it to more to help in cutting down the spread, the contact spread of COVID-19.
Okay. And what has the response been like so far from your customers, and there are probably a lot of new customers, both in terms of the food business and on the cleaning side, the sanitation side? What has the response been like so far?
Well, within the food business, as in a lot of the times it's kind of hard. What we have realized, we didn't do a lot of takeout with our business before because it was about the experience. So it took a lot now to manage the expectations of, sorry, not the expectations, manage the product that was going out to consumers, making sure that it is the right size, making sure that it's the right quality. And we realized that took some time for us to manage, and had to get very hands-on with it. And with like everything, there is some negative, but there's a lot of positive. So good thing about it is that social media nowadays, when you're messing up, people tell you. So that's the good part about it, is that we were listening to persons. Sometimes persons told us where we're going wrong, and a lot of times they told us where we're going right. And that's what helped us to get down that road of creating a product that worked well for us, the business, and then also the consumer. Having to do with mint cleaners now, I think that has been doing really great. As in originally when it started off, it was a lot more cars, persons who were just doing the reach out for their personal security and sense of security. But what we have realized now is that businesses have taken it up, as in large corporations have taken it up, because I guess it is that they have understood that with us getting back to normal, it will take two things: the customer feeling confident that the business is taking all steps to make sure that they're safe within that space, and then also for the staff to know that the owners of the business are doing everything to make sure that when they're at work, they're not at risk. And that's one of the things that I push to people all the while, as in sanitizing, as in just like washing your hands, that alone won't do it. Wearing a mask, that alone won't do it. Social distancing alone won't do it. But if it combined with sanitizing and disinfecting, that may be a part of a better circle of a protocol that helps with just lessening the contact points, and then also the spread of it.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And one of the things that I appreciate about what you shared is that one of the things you did was you asked your customers. You went straight to your customers. I mean, some of it included social media listening, whether you liked it or not, the people that blasted you on social, right? But you also spoke to your customers. And I guess that's another question that a lot of business owners would have. And I want to pick up some people that are joining us here. Hey, Sheldon. Hey, Raquel. Hey, Sophie. Thanks for joining. So how do you know that when you're pivoting, the venture that you're going into is succeeding? I know that Dan is acknowledging that you really did a smart move when you were looking at Asia, because they were months ahead of us in terms of how they were dealing with the pandemic. and lessons that you took from there. And then you spoke about listening to your customers. So how do you know that the venture is going to succeed? Do you do surveys? I mean, what's the methodology that you go through to gather the information you need to help you to be confident that, hey, this is a good direction we need to go into?
So, well, from before within entertainment and within the restaurants, as in it really is around just having a good pulse on what is happening around you, seeing the trends. Surveys definitely are very good, but nowadays it's kind of social media can give you the best survey. You can see how people are experiencing things, and you can see what it is that the consumer wants. So I would say to use your Facebook, use your Instagram as business people, see what people are doing, and see if that product that you are interested in getting into is something that is people are also already out there that are interested in it or probably doing it. You might be going into a market that's already saturated, but I would definitely say use your social media to get your information and just get a proper pulse on what's happening.
Thank you. Very valuable. Yeah, I do agree. Social media is definitely an awesome place to get a litmus test into what's next. And going back to your original point of speaking to your customers, understanding what their needs are, how their needs have shifted, and whether or not those needs are needs that you can fill within your existing endowment. Just to go on the human side now, PJ, because we can talk about doing the surveys, doing the research, listening on social media, etc. What we found is that because so many businesses have been impacted, a lot of business owners have been processing this reality in different ways. Some of them have virtually just kind of locked up shop. Some of them actually had locked up shop. Some are now reopening, thank God, under different models and circumstances. But a lot of them have just kind of locked up shop. And some of it is because I guess it's just their inability to cope with the crisis and what it has meant. Again, it would have hit a lot of people off guard. From your perspective now, just speaking as one human being to the next, what keeps you going? What has kept you going mentally and emotionally in this crisis to just, not stop, but, just to keep pressing through?
Well, Karen, I have to say, as I was one of those persons, as in the first 2 weeks, we closed up shop with the restaurants. That's one of the first things that the Prime Minister had closed down. And it hit hard at that point, just understanding that anything that we were planning, we just know that it had to go on the back burner, and just think about that. How is it that we would then manage with what would be the new norm and start thinking outside of the box? And the thing about it is that it was depressing, as in it was depressing. But what we saw was that we were getting the reach out from our customers, and we were getting the reach out from our staff to say, we know what's going on, but we want work. We know what's going on, but we still want your food. So those things, those reach outs were what motivated us as a team to get back in and said, hey, let's see what we can do to make business work. Might not be the ideal situation, but make it work for the consumer and work for our staff. And that's what we ended up doing. But for me personally, I can tell you, it's definitely is hard, but this time has given a lot of people the opportunity to reflect on some things that are really important in life. And that's what I got out of it. And I got out of it that I love what I do. I love creating an experience. And even though it may not be the ideal experience that I'd like to create, it still is something that people look forward to. And I felt like that's what was motivating me to continue.
Thank you so much for sharing so openly and candidly, PJ, because, people look at a guy like you with your awesome track record. Yeah, man, him things sort out, him don't have no problems, him just wheel and come again. But the reality is, like everyone else, you are human, and we all are human beings, and we all have feelings and struggles. And I think one of the things that jumped out at me is the importance of making sure that you build and maintain your tribe, your community, which is in your case would be your staff and your customers. Because through any good or bad situation, it is that tribe and that community that's going to help to give you the fuel to keep going, and even in the midst of a crisis, it's something that I know I recommend. I just want to acknowledge a point here by Angela. Hi, Nasheen, welcome. Angela says, speaking to your customers is really a radical way to get feedback, make business and helps the business to develop new strategies to succeed. So I think that's certainly one of the key takeaways we would have gotten from PJ. So let's flip over to Shani a little bit, just to keep in the same conversation, because I know Shani, working within JMMB's SME Resource Centre, you would have been interacting with tons of small and medium-sized businesses who have all been impacted by the pandemic, good or bad, and some of whom will be having the pivoting conversations. So from your perspective, Shani, how have you been advising them? And could you share with us right now on this live, what strategies should one use to pivot their business?
So I think PJ actually did all the different strategies that you can look at to pivot your business. There are approximately 6 different strategies. So the first one would be the operational pivoting, where you look at the operations of your business and you see what you can change. So for instance, now persons working from home or working on a shift system, that's how businesses can now do an operational pivoting. The other one would be platform pivot, where you change the channels that you use to get to your customers. So right now, what's been happening, companies have pivoted to online platforms instead of clients coming into their location. The other one is customer pivot. So in terms of a customer pivot, what you do is maybe you'll have to change your target market completely and change who you're selling to, because who you sold to before may not be substantial enough now with COVID to be able to survive. The other thing you can do is you can have a collaboration with another company. And this helps a lot in terms of when you come together, sometimes you're stronger to be able to meet what your clients need and meet their expectations. So come together with other companies that are maybe doing similar services or maybe in the same supply chain, and you may be able to be stronger as a company and as an industry then. The other thing you can do is asset pivoting, which I think we spoke about in our first live, where you look at your underutilized assets and see, okay, how can I now use this asset to become better? So for instance, if you had trucks that were underutilized now with COVID, how can you utilize them to do delivery or have services? So look at those assets that are just staying there and you're not doing anything with them. And then the other one is if you then completely have to change your business model. So that would be a complete pivot where you now go into a totally new business and do something totally new. So those are the strategies. So we look at the client and we say, okay, what can we look at in your business model and in your business plan that you can pivot, and where can you do it most successfully?
Thanks for that clarification, Shani, because when people think pivoting, they think maybe some kind of a drastic shift, right, in the business model. And as you said, in the 6 different types, there are those types of pivots where you are completely pivoting. But as you would have highlighted, and I'm glad you shared that, there are different types of pivoting where you can pivot your client, you can pivot your platform, your assets, etc. And I know that clearly PJ, in his 2 examples that he shared from his experience, in one instance, he was pivoting perhaps more the channel, I guess. He's not giving the restaurant experience, but you're still getting the food sort of a thing. But in another instance, it would have been perhaps a complete shift in terms of going into sanitization. So I'm glad to hear that there are different types of pivots. I guess my other question is, how do I know that pivoting is right for me, though? Or how do I know when to pivot or how should I pivot? Because, okay, so I'm a business owner. There's 6 different types of pivoting. Which one should I choose? What's the criteria? Help.
Okay, so you really need to look at your current operations and you see what tasks you perform daily and see, okay, can those tasks be changed based on what I need to do now and how I need to get to my customer. So you do a detailed exam of your current operations, and then you also look at how tasks can be performed differently now. You also need to do an analysis of what the industry is doing. So if you see that companies are going more online, can your business go online now? Will you be able to change a strategy? Would you be able to make more money by doing so? So everything you're going to look at, try and see if you're going to get more money from doing that service a different way. And also you look at identifying your assets that you can use in a different way. So really what you need to do, you need to pull out your business model. You need to look at your business. There's a business model canvas. And within that canvas, you look at each aspect of it and you see how can I change any specific strategy or any specific model in this canvas and be able to pivot properly and to make more money by doing so.
Thanks so much for that, Shani. And having clarified that now in terms of helping me to understand whether pivoting is right for me, which kind of pivoting, question is, what are the benefits then of pivoting? I mean, is there some point when I say, okay, pivoting is right for me because of this or not? I guess I just need to understand from a business owner perspective, what are the obvious benefits?
So apart from generating more cash, the other benefits are that employees become more productive when you pivot. So they're held accountable for new ways of doing things. So you don't just say, okay, the company is going bad, we can't do anything. You engage your employees so that they can actually become more productive with how you're pivoting and the way your company is going. Another way is you reach out to new clients. So in terms of being able to do that, you reach out to new clients, you offer new services, you offer new products, you connect with them so that you're able to get a whole different target market. The other way is that it increases awareness, it increases brand awareness. So you pivot and you get yourself out there more. So it's not all about cash. We know we want to generate more money, but it's about keeping employees productive. It's about keeping your customers in tune with what you're doing. And it's also about reaching out to those new clients that you can serve.
Thank you for that clarification, Shani, because I think it's important to make that point, because as I started out by saying, we're not here when we talk about pivoting that we're going to be making the billions of dollars overnight. And it may not mean that you're able to keep every last employee either. I mean, PJ, I know we were talking a little bit before we came on the live. I mean, what has been the impact from your staffing perspective? Have you been able to retain everyone, or you've had to make some adjustments there? Can you say?
Oh, we definitely haven't been able to retain. Well, within Dream Entertainment, we're able to retain majority of the team. Within the restaurants, definitely have not. That's a definite consumer-driven business, and also when we're looking to reopen, it will be difficult because you're looking at a decrease of 50% in space being used. So then you definitely will have less consumption and less persons needed within the space.
Got you. And again, that's a sobering thought, because again, your pivoting will require adjustment, and depending on how you're pivoting, where you're pivoting to, you won't necessarily need the same amount of office space. You may not necessarily be able to require the same people complement. So there are those changes there. And Shani, we just spoke about benefits, and I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but it was Dorothy here on Facebook asking a great question. Could we speak about benefits? Are there any negatives to pivoting? Or is it just like always all good and the thing to do?
No, I mean, as I said before, there's so many different ways to pivot. You have to choose the right one, because if you say you pivot to an online platform, but your customers are not online at all, and that's not the market you service, then your business is going to be dead. So you really need to choose how you pivot, and then do that. So you need to do a proper analysis of your business model before you pivot. Don't just say, okay, everybody's doing it and it's a different industry, and then you decide to jump in and pivot that way. So if you don't do it right, it may not reap any benefits at all.
Thanks for that. So that's a very important context. Final question for Shani before we jump back to PJ. There is a popular statement that is being made, I know, especially if you go on sites like LinkedIn and so on. And there's a popular statement that a lot of people have been using that says, one of the key things to consider in pivoting is to think about helping rather than selling. So in your business, you really need to be thinking about helping people or helping your customer rather than selling to your customer. Shani, how true is this statement or not, in your view?
It's very true. You need to always have your customer first, and you need to think about what their needs are before you pivot your business. And even with your customers, even your employees are also part of your customer base too, and part of who you have to look out for. So you have to look at and see for your employees, are they ready to pivot? And then you look at your customers and say, are your customers also ready to make that leap with you to pivot your business?
Thank you, Shani. And I think that's a very important point to raise, because even as a marketer myself, one of the things that we're discussing in the brand circles is that the brands that, particularly during this time of crisis when people are just trying to navigate and get through, the brands that are seen as those that are really coming from a place of wanting to help their consumer, help their customer to navigate through this time and to be there with them and partner with them. When we get to the other side and things get a little bit better, people get stronger, those are the brands that they'll remember, because this really is not a time necessarily about selling and trying to stuff products down people's throats necessarily, but it's about who are the organizations and who are the brands that were there with their customers, and adjusting to their needs and trying to support them at this time. So I think it's a very important point and a very sobering one as well. So let's jump back to PJ. So PJ, again, you would have done a particular kind of pivot on the restaurant side, and almost a full pivot going into the sanitation business. Could you share with us, from your perspective, what are the ways that you employ to, when you're pivoting, not only to just survive, but to thrive? Because when I think about it, especially on the sanitation side, you would have made a certain amount of investment to get all the equipment and the tools and the know-how with your team and so on, to be able to deliver this new service in a way that you would have never been operating in before. So it's no longer really about just surviving the pandemic, it's how you're going to thrive. So what are the ways that you use to pivot to ensure that happens for your business?
So I was happy when you asked Shani that question, because as in the last question, because consumers and your customer is the most important. You have to find what people need, and you have to find out what people don't know that they need. And you have to look to providing that. And as you said earlier, it's not about selling. It's about showing how it is that these products or how this service or this meal helps with their current situation. So it's not right now, it's within the pivot, it's more about the customer and understanding, taking the time now to understand what exactly are the needs of the customer and providing for that, because people have choices on what they need to be spending on. It's not like disposable income. This is people are making hard decisions between a meal for the entire family, or going to go and just to the supermarket and cooking. So it's a consumer market, and you have to be in touch with the consumer to make sure that they're happy.
Absolutely, totally second that point. On the going back now to your businesses as well, in terms of what you're doing to survive, can you say what specific strategies you would have employed? So once you recognized, okay, restaurants are basically told to shut down, no carnival, no big parties for Easter sort of a thing, what are the strategies that you employed to know you're in survival mode?
Well, survival mode definitely kicks in. And the first thing that you start doing is that you start talking to your key players. So the key players being the persons that supply you and the persons that you supply, and kind of just see where it is that they're at having to do with business. Because honestly, if CB decides that they're not doing chickens anymore and they're just closing down, and you're trying to sell chicken, then you're in problems. So you kind of have to understand your supply chain as well, and see where they are at. So that's what we did a lot of in the early stages, trying to understand what the impact of all of this was on our suppliers within the entertainment industry, and then for within the restaurants, also those suppliers. And after that analysis that's when we realized that yes, there are things that we can do to then still service our customers and provide the same quality. But that conversation was one of the first conversations that we realized that we needed to have.
Great, thank you for that. And looking at that such supply chain, I think is very important. Going on the entertainment side, because that's a huge part of your portfolio of businesses, I'm sure. Do you think that based on how things are looking now with social distancing, so even when we talk about reopening the economy, there's still talk about protocols and social distancing protocols and all these things, because the reality is, I think the private sector, certainly the PSOJ, has come out and said, look, it's about life with COVID that we're going to be talking about. It's not about waiting until COVID disappears. It's about how do we live and do business in COVID. And from the entertainment industry perspective, PJ, do you think events as we knew them ever so recently, do you think they will be the same after all this is all over? I mean, what's your perspective on that?
I definitely don't think they'll be the same. I don't think they can ever be the same. But what I do believe is that we're innovative enough to create a new normal, and that new normal will be something that would be able to create an experience for all. I think what we're now going to now see is that the value of entertainment will be coming back. I think that we had lost the value of entertainment in Jamaica a little bit, where it was a little bit too easy access, and we were more about numbers within a space rather than the experience and the quality that we give our consumers within that space. So now it's going to be over to the consumers to have to say what they need when they go out, to say that they need certain safety protocols that to be in place for them to buy a ticket. And then also I think that it's going to now require for consumers to start purchasing a lot earlier so that we can properly prepare for them. It's not going to be a time when people are going to be waiting till the last minute to then jump in onto the experience, because now post-COVID, we'll have to do a lot of preparing for safety, preparing for the maximum amount of persons that a space can hold, and then also just coordinating with government agencies to make sure that we build trust with the government agencies, like how we're building trust with consumers.
Wow, very sobering, very sobering. And what it kind of led me to is the next question is, so in the entertainment industry, you're not expecting it to remain the same. There are adjustments that will have to be made, both on the side of the provider of entertainment as well as on the consumer side, because behaviors would have to adjust, because protocols would have adjusted, and tastes and so on. For any sector though, I feel like there are some business owners who are probably, we're just kind of waiting for this thing to pass. I'm just doing this kind of right now in a holding pattern. What do you say to business owners who are kind of waiting to do business as usual when things kind of wrap up on the COVID side? I mean, what's your piece of advice for after COVID, I guess?
If there's a business person who is out there right now who is sitting and waiting, I'd hope that this is the time for them to wake up. The reality is that COVID it's here. It has changed the way how we behave, and it has changed how consumers purchase. The consumers purchase now very, very, very strategic. They're buying what they need, not necessarily what they want. So therefore, you have to be one of those brands or one of those things that persons see as value to their life. So if it is entertainment, you're bringing a value to their life of that they have been lacking that that outside experience or missing friends and family in you. And at that point, that is where it is that you're going to get that sale from them. Within the consumer of restaurants or even just sale of goods, that if you weren't one of the persons who have been talking to them and saying to them, hey, I'm here with you along the way. And if you want to stop by, give us a check. We're open. We're not open at the regular hours, but we're open at these limited hours for your convenience. Then I think that they'd find a new friend and they'd start falling in love with another product. And that would be the mistake that you'd have made during that time, that persons now will feel loyal because while they were going through this time, this COVID time and this period, they would have now had a new relationship with a new product.
Very, very interesting. I love that one. They could have very well used the time to fall in love. And just like any relationship, you got to work at it to maintain it, right? Mm-hmm. And the key theme that's kind of coming out from what you said for me is relevance. You have to remain relevant at all points, as best as possible. If it's even, again, just keeping in touch with your clients, because as Shani would have alluded to earlier, there are some businesses where pivoting may not be the ideal step to take. And if that's your business, the point is it's still about staying in touch with your customers, staying in touch with your tribe, maintaining your community, because you always want to maintain some kind of relevance in how you keep the connection going, even if you're not able to offer something that they would need at this time. Now, as we talk about relevance, PJ, and this is my final question for PJ before we flip it back to Shani, is that there is a lot of talk again now with going into post-COVID and new normal and people talking about focusing on development. As a business owner, not only for yourself, but also as someone who employs people, what are the skill sets and so on that you believe people need to focus on now to prepare themselves basically for what's going to be the new normal?
All right. So what I can use is my examples. So for me, while I'm in business, they're not all areas of business that I like doing. I am a very creative person. So I love building out the brands and doing the menus, creating the venues, creating the experience. But during this time, I have personally, now I am what would be regarded as a QuickBooks genius. I've used this time to develop what I realized that I was lacking in. I wasn't that great with accounting. We have hired persons to do accounting, but now I have a better understanding and just even a better understanding of just how to manage my expenses now, because I have now seen even how just taking a little bit out of the expenses has gone a longer way for me.
QuickBooks genius. I love that one. I love that one. It's still a great point to make, that again, in trying to remain relevant and current and making sure that you're serving the needs of your clients, again, if you're intent on pivoting, it's very, very important to be gathering those new skills. If I maybe take it a little bit closer to home. So of course I work at JMMB and I'm part of the marketing team. And a huge part of what we would do as marketing is do events, right? Events and promotions and sponsorships, whether it be a cocktail party or a car show or something like that. And no, that ain't happening. And of course, we still have to keep the connection going. We still have to remain relevant. And now we're doing these webinars. And it's not as easy as just saying, okay, I'm going to do a webinar. We've had to really come up the learning curve on how to do a webinar effectively, efficiently, and so on. And we've incorporated the learnings along the way. So I think it's the same with businesses as well. Remaining relevant, remaining in the world of your client. What in pivoting, what skill sets do you need to acquire to maintain that relevance and do that pivot? I think is still a very important point. Shani, jumping back over to you. So obviously when we talk about pivoting, right, we do know that if done well, it can offer some great financial benefits, because at the very least, the expectation is that the business can survive, if not thrive, provided your clients are able to purchase and you're able to sell at the desired volumes that you need to thrive. But could you tell us, Shani, are there any other issues that should be considered when pivoting a business?
I think you guys were talking about it just now in terms of you have to make sure that your employees are able to perform the new tasks that they may have to do. So for instance, PJ is now a QuickBooks expert. So you'll have to see, okay, are my team members, are my employees ready to pivot with me and able to perform the new task? In addition to performing the new task, we're going through COVID. We're going through a time when employees are uncertain. So you have to think about the psychological journey that these employees have to make now to be able to totally change their modus operandum and to be able to pivot with a company. So you have to take into the account, can they do the task and are they mentally prepared to do the task? The other one you have to look at is the access to technology. Does your company have the access to technology to be able to pivot and to be able to facilitate the change? Then when you look at all of those things, you now say, okay, am I pivoting for short term or am I pivoting for the long term? And what you want to make sure to do is, even if it's short term, make sure that your long-term goals are still included in your pivot. So you have to look strategically long term to make sure that you're pivoting in the right direction.
Thank you so much for that, Shani. And as we talk about looking at the different things that you would need to do in order to pivot, and beyond the obvious, looking at the financials and stuff, but how your team, how equipped they are to do that, and so on. I just wanted to flip back to something we were discussing earlier, and I see a question from Dorothy on Facebook. When we spoke earlier about speaking to your customers, I know PJ was a huge advocate, and we agree with him, of social media listening and going on to social media and utilizing customer feedback that you get on social media, as well as what general conversations are about what people are doing, where they're going, what their needs are. Shani, as you advise your clients at the JMMB SME Resource Centre, what are some of the ways in which you've been finding clients have been engaging and getting the data, getting the information they need to make that decision about pivoting?
So they have actually been reaching out to their clients via social media. In terms of just what we tell them is that you have to make sure that you call on your clients, you have to make sure that you engage your clients. So even when they would send them a short survey, easy survey, using something like SurveyMonkey, and asking them what are their needs, what can they see their business doing that will help them. So it's all about helping the client. So they're talking to them, they're reaching out to them via social media, they're sending them emails, they're doing different surveys with them. So they're really just engaging their clients to make sure that they're going in the right direction with their pivot.
Thanks so much for that, Shani. So they're really, I think, just to clarify for Dorothy, And it's really about using a multitude of ways to engage your customers, to listen, to understand their needs, and then line that up with what it is you're able to provide. One final question for Shani before we flip back again to PJ is, so Shani, we've been talking about the SME Resource Centre. So for those of us joining us not too long ago, JMMB has an SME Resource Centre, SME of course being the acronym for small and medium enterprises. We have an SME Resource Centre and it's still relatively new. It's not even a year old yet. Shani, could you share with us what the SME Resource Centre is and what services it provides, and how does it partner with clients to get through not just COVID, but through all time?
So the SME Resource Centre was set up within the SME Unit to make sure that we can guide our JMMB clients through their entire life cycle. So if you start off small, we want to be able to grow with you into a large corporate. So what we would do is that, yes, we have all the financial services and products that you would need, but within the Resource Centre, we help you with business planning, we help you with tax services, we help you with marketing. So we have a broad base of well-trained, great partners that we work with within the center who will help our JMMB clients wherever they need that help. So if you come to us and you're like, I'm not sure where to go in my business, we might put you onto a partner who is able now to say, okay, this is the direction you should go in. But with any center too, we will also help to do your business plan with you.
Thank you so much, Shani. And just to be clear, I got a great question here from Romaine on YouTube. Does the Resource Centre accept startups looking to get into like a startup accelerator program? I mean, what stage of the business life cycle does the Resource Centre support?
Okay, so mainly we start at small business. So a startup would be pre-small business, but that's not to say that we do not have programs that we can put you onto. So we have partners within the Resource Centre who have accelerator services, and we will say, okay, you're a startup, this is where you go. So we have a lot of different partners that we can look at to put a startup onto.
Okay, great. Thank you for that question, Romaine. So we're going into our final question segment, and it's gonna be a little bit of a different twist to how we've been asking the questions before, because I guess now we're talking about future. So usually in these lives, because we're going through the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that we always like to talk about what's going to happen after COVID, or what will life look like after, what will be the new normal. So of course, nobody really knows what it's going to look like afterwards. So let's talk about thriving in the future, and let's see if we can kind of take out our crystal balls. And I'd love to hear from each of our guest panelists here tonight. I'm going to just call out 5 words to you, which are 5 popular business terms. I'm going to ask you again, looking in your proverbial crystal balls, what comes to mind when you hear these words if you're talking about businesses thriving in the future? So I'm going to start out with PJ. So in the context of businesses thriving in the future, PJ, what comes to mind when you hear the words or the phrase taking risk?
I definitely believe that you have to be minimizing your risk right now. The fact is, as you said, we don't know what it is that will be the new normal. So it must be able that you must be able to scale. You must scale down everything so that you can scale up as the opportunities come your way, and not be looking now. That now is not the time to be having the big pie in the sky dream. It is now is the time to be realistic and manage those risks and scale up when it is that the market changes.
Thanks for that insight. And Shani, what comes to mind for you when you hear taking risk?
Well, for me, I think you scale your risk now. So even though PJ would say scale back, you look and you scale and you see, okay, which risk can I take right now that will reap a bigger reward? and where should I stay conservative?
Okay, thank you. I'm loving the different perspectives, guys, or slightly tweaked perspectives. It's wonderful because I think it really gives us food for thought because, again, we really don't know where we're going to land on the other side, but it's great to look at things in a very holistic way. So, again, still with the same framed question, in the context of businesses thriving in the future, PJ, back to PJ, what comes to mind when you hear the word innovation?
Well, I believe that innovation is going to be the key. As in, if you're not moving with the times and moving with what is going to be innovative for the consumer, then you're going to be left behind because your consumer, your competitor, will be looking at what will be the innovative ways that they can reach the consumer, and also innovative ways that they can cut down on their expenses so that they can be more profitable. So now is the time to be innovative. Try things that, for example, within the food and beverage, delivery has been the number one way that anybody is generating income. And you have places like KFC, like Popeyes, that is now doing deliveries, that has never done that before. So now it's the time that you have to be innovative on how to get to the consumer.
Love that. Love that. Shani, what about you? What comes to mind? Businesses thriving in the future. Innovation.
In terms of innovation, new products, new services, being an innovative entrepreneur, moving forward with the times and being able to be quick and do things that need to be done to make your business grow and succeed.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, here's another word, again, still in this same line of questioning. So, in the context of businesses thriving in the future, back to PJ, what comes to mind when you hear the word agile?
I would say that's what we need to be right now, as in we need to be as agile with the business for I know I keep on saying it, but I believe it's the consumer's time. I think that a lot of businesses haven't been focusing on the consumer, and I think that now is the time for the consumer to be the main focus of every business.
I love that, and I know especially for in Jamaica land we love, where sometimes the consumers believe that they weren't always treated with the adoration they deserve. That's wonderful to hear. Shani, agile, what comes to mind for you?
Well, mine for this one is along the same lines in terms of being quick to respond to your customers and your consumers, because that's the only way that your business will survive right now, doing what the customer needs of you from your business.
Okay, great. Now, the next word is interesting because, again, for as much time as I spend on sites like LinkedIn, where you're seeing conversations happening between tons of businesses and business owners and executives, especially out of the North, the word competition doesn't seem to be a word that's in fashion much anymore. It's really about collaboration. And I think that's interesting. I find that perhaps in the Jamaican market, it's less so. I think we're still very much a competitive bunch. But again, same question, when you talk about in the context of businesses thriving in the future, what comes to mind when you think collaboration, PJ?
I think it's the key for us, especially on an island like Jamaica. We have a lot of resources here, and we have a lot of definitely untapped resources. And I think that right now, as you made in your points, collaboration is what you can find where it is your weakness, maybe somebody else's strength within their business, and it is just to see how well you guys, persons, can put the two together to then benefit for profitability for the business. As in, I definitely am I'm on the collaboration all the way.
Devil's advocate question to follow up on that then, PJ. Do you see your desire to collaborate as negatively impacting your ability to be competitive at all?
Well, that's the thing is, and you can't look at everybody as your competitor. So even if it is that you have one person who it is that you're collaborating with, as in, I can use examples. Quick Plate or Peckish or Seventh Crave, all of those are delivery services, but they advertise for several other companies. So before, you may have been looking at it and saying, hey, well, they're advertising for other companies, but collaborating with them and doing free deliveries now makes them your would be a great collaboration for you, because now you are in partnership with them to know, and it's in their best interest to make sure that your products are selling.
Ah, I love that perspective. I love that perspective. Shani, what comes to mind for you when you think of collaboration, businesses thriving in the future?
I think I had said it before that we really in Jamaica, and everywhere, we need to start partnering with other companies and not seeing every single company as a competitor. I think when we partner, we can be stronger and we can be able to give our clients what we need, give our customers what we need, and even be able to now expand into new markets and expand our customer base when we now collaborate and partner and come together as one instead of fighting against other businesses.
I love that. We're not fighting against it. Collaboration is an awesome way to go. Shani, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot a bit, but do you have maybe one example of a client in the SME Resource Centre? Of course, we don't need to call any names, but of a client who would have done some kind of collab that worked for them, that turned out well?
Yeah, and I don't think they would mind me calling their names. In terms of Brescia and Kamit Revisited, Brescia was making bags and Kamit Revisited was doing clothing. Both of them are clients within the resource center. Both of them have come together to make masks. Both of them are now collaborating to make sure that their both businesses work and that they can come out to the public with new ideas and new products where they would not have collaborated before. So I'm seeing it happening and I'm seeing it working very well.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And final word in this line of questioning, back to PJ again. What comes to mind for you, businesses thriving in the future, when you hear the word technology?
Right. Well, now is the time. We'll have that. We'll have a lot of time. We had a lot of time on our hands, as in we're now opening up all areas of commerce June 1, and it would have been important for persons to get their business up to the modern technologies that are happening, as in the time now where it is that you don't have an online platform or you don't have a website where it is that you can speak to your customers. That time has passed, and anyone who is in business now, they have to have a technological platform, one that people can contact them, can communicate with them, and to get feedback, but also for them to get new business, and also to engage and collect payments as well.
Great. I totally second that. And you know, one of the things that I think is an important point to raise for our viewers, guys, is that technology also doesn't have to be expensive, right? I think that's one of the scare factors that people, you know, put in their heads, that, oh my goodness, our website is going to cost me a ton of money. And, you know, to have this platform is going to cost me a bag of money. And the reality is that there are some technologies that are sometimes, depending on what they are, next to free, or depending on the package you buy, not very expensive at all. I mean, what can you share, maybe, because you're the QuickBooks Pro now, right, PJ? I mean, what has your love affair with technology been in terms of the kind of costs that you've been seeing and how you've been utilizing it?
Well, my love affair is really with YouTube. As in, I have gone and I have used my YouTube as my planter location. I get my ideas from that, and then I start researching in other locations and seeing what products are out there and how best they can be implemented in my business. As in, for example, with mint cleaners, as in all the reservations, all bookings and payment are done online. I actually don't need to have a conversation with a client unless it is that they want to. But all things can be done online through a platform called Setmore, which is a program that was designed for hairdressers, nail salons, that now is using for service businesses. and they made a couple little tweaks to their system of changing the location of where the customer is rather than the customer coming to the actual location. And now it is one of the best applications out there for persons who are trying to get their business to the consumer.
Wow. Could you spell that for me, please?
It's SETMORE. So for anybody who is in the service business, I would recommend to you, it has a small fee, but you can collect credit card payments on it. You can do all of your bookings. You can set the times that you're available, and you can manage your bookings. Now is the time that your time is valuable. So, for example, if you're a hairdresser, for example, as in you don't want to be taking a booking with somebody and they don't turn up. That would have been an opportunity lost for you. No, you can say to them that book it, and then also they pay a deposit on the service. They have to value your time. You have to value your time in this pandemic, and just understand that your services are valuable.
Love it. Thanks for that. Setmore. And the website will be like setmore.com.
Yes, it's setmore.com.
Okay, great. Thanks for that tip. Shani, technology, what comes to mind for you?
Technology is the way to go. Technology, you need to use it for your business now. You need to be online. You need to use your online platform. You need to see where your customers are. And don't go looking for expensive online platforms. Utilize what's out there now and make sure that you're reaching that target customer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It is the way to go, and it is something we have to embrace. And again, I'd love to underscore the point. I can't underscore it enough, that don't be afraid of exploring different types of technological platforms that you can use for very little money. I had a conversation with my dear CEO when we started to do these lives, and I mean, we're streaming on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and he's like, "Wow, Carrie Ann, some big money marketing I spend. Have mistake." I'm like, he's like, "What to do?" I'm like, "There's this platform that we use, and we pay us $40 a month subscription. That's it. And for $40 a month, we stream to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I mean, just like that, So with due respect, this is not a big expensive setup, and we're all here at home on our machine. So again, guys, I really encourage you to explore the different technological options that are available to your business for sure. Okay, great. So we have time for maybe one or two questions. So guys, if we're really loving the engagement here online, it's been wonderful. Shanique gave a great point. She underscored collaboration is key to let things happen, as long as, of course, you put the effort into it. And the reality is that also, Shanique also said, technology grows every day for businesses to develop. So there are so many options out there. Please use it. And thanks for the feedback, guys, getting great feedback about this, an informative session. We're really glad you're enjoying it. Let me just jump right ahead and do a quick housekeeping matter. If there are any questions, guys, drop them in the comments. We have time just for a couple of questions before we wrap up here tonight. But let me just do a quick housekeeping matter to tell you when we're going to be linking up like this again. So again, JMMB Goal Getter Live. We enjoy doing these webinars, streaming to you live every Tuesday now is what we're working with, Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. We're still under curfew. Curfew is now pushed back to 9 o'clock, so we really don't have anywhere to go, people. So please keep joining us here on a Tuesday where we're happy to bring you some great information to help you to navigate through the COVID-19 situation. And we're going to be back again next week, Tuesday. So if you joined us a little late, or if you know someone who would have been really benefited by this information, then please don't worry about it. We're going to be uploading the recording of this live session. We're going to be uploading it to YouTube to Facebook, to Twitter, and to Instagram, so you can watch the recording. If there's anything you would have missed, watch the recordings, take your notes, and share it with a friend. Of course, follow JMMB on all of our social media platforms so you know what's happening. Keep in touch, see what all the great content that we're sharing with you, and of course, know when our next live stream is. And our next live stream is going to be again next week, Tuesday. So there was a question earlier. I think it was Syed or Saeed. I hope I'm not messing up people's names. Forgive me, guys. I'm just going by the spelling. But Syed from YouTube asked a question about which companies on the Jamaica Stock Exchange can we pivot our financial resources into? And that's a great question, Syed. Now, we've done several lives already, and there was one we did on how to keep your investments on track during COVID-19. And in that particular live, we dealt with what are some of the companies or stocks on the Jamaica Stock Exchange that our financial advisors thought would be best able to weather the COVID storm. So feel free to check out that webinar. But I'm raising the question too because next week, Tuesday, is going to be another awesome topic, like they are every Tuesday, where we're going to be doing a topic on investing 101. Right? So investing 101, that means we're going to be breaking it down. What is investing? How do I invest? How do I get started? How do I improve how I invest? And everything you need to know about all things investing. And guys, that information is going to be applicable not just for the time of COVID, but of course, even after. So join us next week, Tuesday, right here on JMMB's platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, where we'll be covering the topic Investing 101. So that's next week, Tuesday, 8:30. So feel free to join us back then. Okay. There's a question here, Shani, and I guess I'll just direct it to you because it's a popular question. From Audley. Hey, Audley from YouTube. Does JMMB fund startups, Shani? When you get that question, I'm sure it's a question you get quite a bit.
We don't fund startups, but we do have an equity division, private equity, where we look at more medium-sized business who we will help fund.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification, Shani. And again, we encourage businesses of any size at any stage of the life cycle to call us and have a conversation because, again, depending on where you are in your life cycle, that's how we would be able to direct you to the place that would be ideal for you to go. Diane has a question, and I think I'm going to direct it to PJ. Diane says, why do you think, because this is just Diane is musing here and we love it. Why do you think that customers tend to look at what they're paying, I'm assuming the dollar amount that they're paying, and not the service or the product that they're getting in return? So I guess as a business person, this is something that you probably encounter quite often, PJ. I don't know. What are your thoughts as a business owner on this particular kind of customer behavior?
Boy, Dan, I would love to know the answer to that question. But when we are doing business, we have to actually look at it from the consumer's point of view. And when we are our consumers ourselves, and the reality is that we look at what is coming out of our pocket, and then also we look at what we're getting. And I think that some of the times we as businesses need to look to making sure that we let the consumer know what it is that they're getting, as in the benefit of it. As in you'll see it, as in whenever it is that a Mercedes is selling, they sell what it is that you're getting. You're getting one, prestige, and then also you're getting all of these luxury items. You're going to reach the same destination, but they have sold it to you. And I believe that we need to, as business people, need to sell our products better. And that's the key to marketing.
Thank you so much for that, PJ. I love that because, again, a lot of the matter of branding and the value that customers place on a brand or certainly on a product category within a brand is how that brand is positioned. And I'm a marketer, so I love this kind of stuff. And how the brand is positioned and how the brand demonstrates the value that it brings to the customer helps to impact the perception that the customer has of the brand and of the product, and ultimately what price they pay for it. All right, so let's take one final question, and I see it's for PJ rather. This is Elu. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right, guys. Don't sue me. What are the key factors to consider when starting a cleaning company?
I would definitely say that the first thing to consider is your staff. You need to make sure that when you're going into person's personal space, maybe their home, their car, or their business, and you have to make sure that you have persons who are trustworthy, reliable, and persons who actually take what they're doing very seriously. And that would be my advice. Try to see if you can find your team before. And that was what I was lucky with. I was able to find my team by my other businesses, as I said, they were repurposed into the cleaning business. But most importantly, I knew what they were about. I knew that they understood what quality is and what it is to the importance of making sure that the business was seen in a positive light.
Thanks so much for that, PJ. Great. So thanks for the questions, guys. We really continue to love the engagement. So we're going to move into the final nugget. And for those of you guys who watch us every week, the final nugget happens at the very end of our Goal Getter Live sessions, where we ask each of our guests or panelists to give us their final nugget. So basically what the final nugget is, guys, and I'm going to ask it of PJ and Shani, is that obviously we would have had an awesome discussion. I'm sure the people in the live would agree. We had an awesome discussion about how one can pivot their business and thrive, particularly at this time when we're having this discussion. And we've spoken about tons of great things, and we've given lots of great advice and great information. And everybody who's watching is going to go and take a nap tonight, sleep it off, and then wake up tomorrow morning. What is your final nugget of recommendation as the first thing that I should do tomorrow if I'm thinking of pivoting my business? What's the first thing I need to do? If not the first thing, certainly the most important thing. And I'm going to ask the lady to go first this time. Shani, what's the first thing I should do when I wake up tomorrow morning if I'm considering pivoting my business or not?
Okay, so however you decide to pivot your business, whichever one it is, operationally, based on assets, or completely pivot, make sure that with it you create a winning, impactful value proposition that will set you separately from your other competitors. So make sure you have an impactful value proposition with your pivot.
Love that, Shani. And I love all these marketing type terms because, again, value proposition, for those of us on the live who want that clarification, it's what is my business offering that's, as you say, better than what my customer would get if they went to my competitor. So if my customer comes to me, what are they getting that's better than if they went to my direct competitor to get the same thing? Awesome. So that winning value prop has to be there. That's what I need to get a handle on first thing. PJ, your perspective, what's the first thing or the most important thing I need to do when I wake up in the morning tomorrow?
To think about, if you're pivoting, think about how it is that your customers will be able to stay with you, because for the business to pivot, you have to have your customers. It's either one or two things. It's either you're going to get new customers or you're going to retain the old customers, and the pivot should be in their benefit to keeping them or growing them.
Thank you so much. Keeping that customer, keep retaining them. That's like definitely another priority, important priority number one. Guys, can we get some big up and some round of applause for our guests on the panel tonight? The discussion was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate your insights tonight. PJ, again, thank you so much for being our guest on our external guest on the live, and again being so open and candid and sharing your experiences with us and the lessons learned along the way. I'm sure that it has really benefited a lot of people who have been watching and will continue to watch the recordings as they go through. And then of course, Shani, you're like one of the marketing MVPs, right? We can always call on you when we need an expert to speak to our SMEs and our business clients and persons in business who are just really looking to get through what is arguably a very difficult time for a lot of businesses. Yes, some businesses are benefiting, absolutely, and we're happy for that. But we really recognize that this crisis has brought on a lot of strain on a number of Jamaican businesses. And so we thank you, Shani, for coming on again, your second appearance, and it probably will be your last. But thank you so much, Shani, for continuing to share your insights and your time with us. We really appreciate it. And again, guys, your fan club in the live comments are give well done, guys. Love it, love it, love it. Really appreciate your time. And to our viewers, thank you for your time. You could have been doing so many other things tonight. Yeah, it's curfew, but we don't take it for granted. You could have gone somewhere else on YouTube. But we really appreciate your tuning in, and we continue to be very grateful for the opportunity to share with you information like this. Again, if you found anything useful in this live, please share the recorded video once it's posted. Again, we're going to be putting it up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram starting later tonight into tomorrow. So look out for it, share it, watch it again. Feel free to field your questions to us at JMMB. We'd be happy to continue the conversation. And of course, I have to continue to big up my marketing team who is in the background here. We could not do this live without an awesome team effort every week, putting in the time and the energy to prepare and to deliver these lives to you. Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. So guys, continue to stay safe. Continue to do everything you need to do to stay safe. And again, JMMB, coming from a place of love and having your best interests at heart, standing for the greatness of everyone. We thank you and ask you to continue to do what you need to do to stay safe and to thrive. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks again for joining.